She destroyed 7 men's lives with false accusations on social media. Each one lost their job, their reputation, everything. Her followers called her brave. Brands paid her for her story. She had the system figured out perfectly, until victim number 8 did something she never expected. He recorded everything. And what he uncovered will blow your mind. Before we get into this insane story, if you appreciate content that exposes the truth no matter how uncomfortable, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. All right, let's dive into how one Instagram influencer weaponized the Me Too movement for designer bags and clout. Meet Natasha, 27 years old, Instagram influencer with about 150,000 followers, and by all appearances, living her best life. Designer bags, exotic vacations, champagne brunches, you know the type. Her bio literally read, "High maintenance but worth it," with a crown emoji. But behind the perfectly curated feed was something much darker. Over the course of 3 years, Natasha dated 7 different men. And here's where it gets interesting. Every single relationship ended the exact same way. As soon as things didn't go her way, or when she got bored, or when she found someone with a bigger wallet, she'd go nuclear on social media. Her method was calculated and ruthless. First, she'd post cryptic Instagram stories. Things like, "Some men really show you who they are when you stop giving them what they want." Or, "Just found out I've been dating a narcissist. I should have seen the red flags." You know, vague enough to get people's attention, but specific enough to make her followers ask questions. Then came phase 2, the tearful videos. She'd go live on Instagram, eyes red from crying, sometimes her voice shaking, talking about how she'd been emotionally abused, manipulated, gaslit. She'd throw around therapy terms like love bombing and triangulation to sound credible. Her followers would flood the comments with heart emojis and messages of support. "You deserve better, queen. Men are trash. Stay strong, sis." But here's the thing, and this is crucial. She never provided actual details. No specific incidents, no concrete examples, just emotional appeals and buzzwords. And because we live in an age where accusations spread like wildfire and people are quick to pick sides, it worked. Every single time. Let me tell you about victim number 1, Marcus. He was a personal trainer, decent guy, had his own small business. They dated for 4 months. Things ended when he couldn't afford to take her on a trip to Dubai for her birthday. Within a week, Natasha had posted a 20-slide Instagram story about how he was controlling and financially manipulative. Marcus lost about 30 clients. His reputation in his local gym community was destroyed. He tried to defend himself, but you know how that goes. The moment a man tries to tell his side of the story, he gets accused of harassment or playing the victim. Victim number 2 was Jamal, a software engineer. Smart guy, good job, thought he'd found someone special. They dated for 6 months. It ended when Jamal discovered Natasha was still talking to her ex behind his back. When he confronted her about it, she flipped the script entirely. Suddenly, he was the toxic one. She posted screenshots of their arguments, carefully cropped to remove her own inflammatory messages, making it look like he was aggressive and unreasonable. Jamal's colleagues at his tech company saw the posts. He became the subject of whispers and side-eyes at work. Then there was David, a lawyer. 8 months of dating. He actually thought they were heading towards something serious. They broke up after he caught her using his debit card without permission. Her response? A TikTok video that went semi-viral talking about how she had escaped a relationship with someone who was domestically abusive and obsessive over money. The irony was completely lost on her followers, who ate it up. David's law firm had to deal with angry phone calls from people who'd seen the video. I could go on. There was Trevor, the real estate agent, Miguel, the restaurant manager, Chris, the graphic designer, and James, the personal chef. 7 men, 7 destroyed reputations, 7 lives impacted by false accusations. And Natasha? Her following grew. Every breakup became content. Every accusation brought more sympathy, more engagement, more brand deals. See, she had figured out the algorithm, both social and social justice. She knew that in today's climate, Accusation equals guilt in the court of public opinion. She knew that women supporting women meant her word would be taken at face value. And she weaponized it. But here's where our story takes a turn, because Natasha's pattern was about to hit a brick wall in the form of someone she never saw coming. Enter Marcus. No, not the Marcus, the personal trainer from earlier. Different Marcus. Marcus Williams, 32 years old, owned a successful digital marketing agency. And here's the kicker. He'd been friends with victim number 4, Trevor, the real estate agent. Marcus had watched from the sidelines as Trevor's life fell apart after dating Natasha. He'd seen the posts, heard Trevor's side of the story, watched a good man get destroyed by lies. So when Natasha slid into Marcus's DMs 6 months later, clearly not remembering that he and Trevor knew each other, Marcus didn't block her. Instead, he did something brilliant. He decided to document everything. Now, before I continue, let me be clear. This isn't about revenge. This is about protection and accountability. Marcus knew that if he dated Natasha, she'd eventually try to destroy him too, so he made sure that wouldn't be possible. From day one, Marcus kept records. Every text message, screenshot. Every phone call, recorded with consent in a state where that was legal. Every date, he kept receipts. Every conversation, documented. He was building a case file before there was even a case. They started dating in March. Natasha, predictably, fell into her usual patterns. She love-bombed him hard at first, constant texts, surprise visits to his office, posted couple photos on her Instagram with captions about finally finding a real man. Marcus played along, but he stayed alert. By May, the cracks started showing. Natasha began making unreasonable demands. She wanted Marcus to fire his female assistant because she felt disrespected. She wanted access to his business bank account to help with expenses. She wanted him to stop hanging out with his friends because they gave her bad vibes. Marcus documented every request and his reasonable responses. When she'd get upset that he set boundaries, he'd stay calm, communicate clearly, and save everything. In June, Natasha found a new target. Some crypto entrepreneur who'd just been featured in a business magazine. She started acting distant with Marcus, picking fights over nothing. He knew what was coming. Sure enough, in July, she broke up with him over text, said she needed space to work on herself. Marcus said okay, wished her well, and waited. He didn't have to wait long. 3 days later, the Instagram story started. Can't believe I wasted 4 months on someone who pretended to be successful but was actually drowning in debt and jealousy. That was a lie. Marcus's business was thriving, and she knew it. Then came the tearful video. I just got out of a really dark situation, you guys. He was checking my phone, monitoring my location, trying to isolate me from my friends and family. I feel so stupid for not seeing it sooner. Another lie. Marcus had never once asked to see her phone. The location monitoring, she had been the one who insisted they share locations. The isolation, he had encouraged her to spend time with her friends. But here's where Natasha made her fatal mistake. She got greedy with the narrative. She posted a story that said, he even threatened me when I tried to leave, said I would ruin my career and make sure nobody would work with me again. I have the messages, but I'm too scared to post them. That last part was the nail in her coffin, because Marcus had every message they had ever exchanged, and not one of them contained anything remotely threatening. While Natasha's followers were flooding her with support, calling for Marcus to be exposed and canceled, Marcus was consulting with his lawyer. He had learned from watching what happened to Trevor and the others. He knew that defending yourself in the comments never works, so he went nuclear in a different way. Marcus's lawyer sent Natasha a cease and desist letter, along with a notice that they were preparing a defamation lawsuit. Attached to that letter was a file, a very thick file. 4 months of documented conversations, receipts, timestamps, even a timeline that showed exactly when Natasha had reached out to the crypto entrepreneur, proving her infidelity.
But Marcus didn't stop there. Remember, he owned a digital marketing agency. He knew how social media worked, so he created a website. Not to attack Natasha, but to defend himself with facts. The website was simple, clean, professional. It was titled The Truth About My Relationship with Natasha Peterson. On it, he posted a calm, detailed account of their relationship, backed up with screenshots, recordings of her admitting she'd lied about previous exes, and statements from friends who'd witnessed her behavior. But the masterstroke? He'd managed to get in touch with 4 of Natasha's 7 previous victims: Marcus, Jamal, David, and Trevor. They all agreed to share their stories on the website, with their full names and faces, not hiding in anonymity. 4 men, independently describing the exact same pattern of behavior. When Marcus launched the website, he didn't blast it all over social media. He didn't have to. He simply sent the link to 3 friends. In the age of screenshots and shares, it spread on its own. Within 24 hours, the website had been viewed over 50,000 times. Screenshots were circulating on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit. People were reading the documented evidence, seeing the pattern, and connecting the dots. Natasha's response was predictable. She doubled down, claimed Marcus was harassing her, said the screenshots were fake, called it a smear campaign. But here's the thing about lies: they fall apart under scrutiny. And Marcus had provided so much documentation that her claims of fakery didn't hold water. Her followers started asking questions. Why is his documentation so thorough? Why do all these different men have the same story? Why won't she address the specific evidence? Then the dominoes really started falling. A few of Natasha's brand partnerships quietly ended. Her engagement started dropping as people unfollowed or stopped interacting. The algorithm that had once favored her dramatic content now worked against her as her metrics tanked. But the real turning point came when one of her former best friends, someone named Ashley, came forward with her own story. Ashley posted a video explaining that she'd ended her friendship with Natasha 2 years earlier after watching her fabricate abuse allegations against Marcus, the personal trainer. Ashley had kept quiet out of fear, but seeing Natasha do it again gave her the courage to speak up. Ashley's video was the tipping point. It came from inside Natasha's own circle, someone who had no reason to lie and everything to lose by speaking out. The narrative collapsed. Within 2 weeks, Natasha had lost over 40,000 followers. Her remaining brand deals evaporated. The crypto entrepreneur she'd left Marcus for, he ghosted her as soon as he saw the website. Her comments section, once full of support, became a graveyard of accountability. Marcus's lawyer confirmed that Natasha had agreed to post a public apology and retraction to avoid the defamation lawsuit. In the video, she admitted to exaggerating and fabricating claims about Marcus and apologized for the harm caused. It was the most views she'd gotten in months, but not for the reasons she wanted. But here's what makes this story truly important. It's not just about one woman getting caught. It's about the pattern she represented and the system that enabled her. See, for years, Natasha had weaponized legitimate social movements meant to help real victims. She'd taken the language of abuse, the sympathy extended to survivors, and the cultural shift toward believing women, all good things, and twisted them for personal gain and petty revenge. She made it harder for real victims to be believed. Every false accusation, every fabricated story, every lie told for Instagram engagement, it all adds ammunition to people who want to dismiss legitimate claims. Real survivors already face uphill battles getting people to believe them. Women like Natasha make that mountain steeper. And the men whose lives she damaged? They suffered real consequences. Lost jobs, ruined reputations, strained relationships with family and friends who believed the accusations. Some of them dealt with anxiety and depression. Trevor told Marcus he'd considered just leaving town and starting over somewhere else because the stigma was so overwhelming. This is why documentation matters. This is why due process matters. This is why we need to balance support for victims with fairness for the accused. Believe victims, absolutely, but verify claims. Support survivors, definitely, but don't participate in mob justice. Marcus did something remarkable. He didn't just defend himself, he created a blueprint for how to handle false accusations in the digital age. Stay calm, document everything, gather evidence, work within the legal system, and present facts without emotion or retaliation. The aftermath of this situation has been interesting to watch. Natasha deleted her Instagram account about a month after everything went public. Word is she moved to a different state and started fresh with a private account. The website Marcus created is still up, not as a vendetta, but as a record, a warning, and a resource for the men who came before him. As for Marcus, his business is doing better than ever. He's been contacted by several men's rights organizations asking him to speak about his experience, though he's been selective about which platforms he engages with, wanting to focus on fairness rather than fueling gender wars. Trevor, the real estate agent, managed to rebuild his reputation slowly. Some of his clients came back after learning the truth. He's dating again, though he admits he's more cautious now, more aware of red flags. The other victims have had mixed outcomes. Some are doing well, others are still dealing with the fallout. But knowing they weren't alone, that there was a pattern, that they weren't crazy, that validation meant something. And finally, false accusations hurt everyone. They hurt the people being falsely accused, obviously, but they also hurt real victims by providing ammunition for skeptics. They hurt the movements trying to create meaningful change. They hurt trust between people. They hurt society's ability to distinguish truth from manipulation. Natasha's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked social media power, the weaponization of victim culture, and what happens when someone finally says, "Enough is enough," and fights back with truth. But it's also a reminder that karma, whether you believe in it literally or metaphorically, has a way of catching up. You can manipulate people for a while, you can lie and get away with it temporarily, you can destroy reputations and face no immediate consequences. But eventually, the truth has a way of surfacing. Eventually, you meet your match. For Natasha, that match was Marcus Williams, a man who'd seen her pattern, prepared for her tactics, and had the resources and resolution to fight back properly. Not with more lies, not with harassment, not with revenge, but with documentation, legal action, and organized truth-telling. As we wrap up this story, I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever witnessed or experienced a situation like this? How do we balance supporting victims with ensuring fairness for everyone? What do you think the solution is to false accusations in the social media age? Let's have a real conversation down below. And if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for sticking around. This was a heavy topic, but an important one. If you found this story interesting or valuable, please hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into wild internet drama and real-life karma stories. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay safe out there, document your truth, and remember that the internet never forgets, even when someone wants it to. Peace.